think we're not taught to know it. And I think we're taught that it's arrogant to know it and to express it. So then what you have is all these people who don't have it, who don't have the efficacy, who don't have the brilliance, who don't have the dedicated heart. They know how to present and package themselves, so they get the gigs, but they don't have the stuff, right? So I teach the people who get the stuff how to present and package themselves. Part of that is for sure what you're saying. You got to own your story. You got to figure out why you don't want to show up wholly as you are. But you're a businessman, so you know that you showing up distinctly, the implications of what that means for your sales and for your team, right? And for your presence in the media. So that's the business use case part of it. And I get all excited about the business use case, but so many people are like, nah, Ushi, you just help people discover who they really are. I was like, fine, like call it whatever you want. But yeah, that's what's going down over here.
Austin Community Capital. This show is a celebration of the spirit of Austin, Texas, honoring our past, engaging our present, and building our future together.
Although it's not the last time.
Ushi, I'm really excited to be chatting with you today. You have such a gift for helping people recognize, own, and tell their story. And it's truly an unlock for people. And so I'm really excited to dive into your story today. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So let me just start with this. So you have this gift helping people with their story. What was a time in your life where you really owned your own story?
Oh, I don't know that there was a time in my life. I feel like I'm the accidental story. So there was, first of all, I'm going to say this. It is story, but I want to make a distinction between story and journey. Because I think I was actually wrapped up in a story for a long time, right? And I had this, later we'll talk about a healthy bad breakup. And it woke me up to, whoa, I'm repeating a story that, first of all, doesn't feel like who I am. That story has produced a lot of great things externally. I have a great job. I have acknowledgement in the industry. I have sort of the things that people want. And then I go through this healthy bad breakup and I was like, I think I don't like my story. So in that context, it's like the narrative in your head that's creating an external reality, right? Like a buy-in. I am this kind of person, or I went through this, so therefore I can't. Like those stories. That year, I took a year off to really understand the stories that were in my head. Whose were they? Were they from people I was growing up in? Did they have cultural origins? Or was I making them up, based on an interaction I might have had? And then the story that I help people to embrace is you get out of that one and then you get into your journey, which is there's a story and a lived experience in you, a bridge that you've crossed that's the magic, right? That's the place where if you are looking at your journey and you're giving gratitude for the milestones of that journey, however hard they might be, that first of all, you can leverage and monetize it, but it does something to you. You stand taller and you start to see the purpose of why you're here and own it. And so that happened for me, I would say like yesterday. Yeah.
Okay.
Because it's always happening. It's always unfolding. I might have said the same thing a year ago to you, right? Where I was like, I'm owning my story. But then, it kept going. And I have a journey that's of value to others. I don't have to do anything about it. I can just say, hey, I have this journey. But in me sharing it, there's some 20-year-old that hears what I have to say. And, it contributes to his or her journey. But then they also are able to not make the same mistakes I did or expand on the things I did discover along the way. So yeah, I would say I'm owning my story more and more every day. And I really think that that's also the tenet of what I love to share with others is that it's ever evolving and you're in control of it. Yeah.
An empowering thought.
Yeah.
And I want to go back to that season where you took a pause. Yeah. You did a couple things that are unconventional. You had an amount of self-awareness to realize I'm telling myself some stories, we have like our story and then stories, and they're maybe not serving me. I'm going to change things up, take a period of time, reflect, like talk more about what was going on in your heart and your mind. And were you entering into like an unknown kind of dark cavern, or were you seeing a path to maybe a place you wanted to go? Like what was going on?
Both, right? I always think if you think of a blank canvas, the painting doesn't emerge unless both exist, right? You have to have the contrast to be able to see an object. So both. I was definitely burnt out, classical burnout, right? I was tired. I had this moment where I don't do this usually, but I was walking across the street and I had a meeting, and there was I was in San Francisco, and there was this elderly Indian woman who was like having trouble getting across the street. And I saw it. And I also was late for my meeting. And I had blown by her because I was like, I just got to go to the meeting and somebody else will help her. And I just made sense of it in my head, which in hindsight was dropping who I am, right? In the name of a meeting, like, right? And there's a million other things I could have done if I was aligned to who I really was, which was like texted somebody at that point, and I didn't do it. Later that night, I was laying on my bed. I remember it so clearly, and I was like, like I don't feel good. My heart doesn't feel good. I feel like a weight on my chest. I don't feel good. Didn't do anything about it. And then I was in a relationship that I had thought was going to be, the one, another story, right? That I bought into, and that one is going to make you joyful or make you have like, again, purpose or some sort of direction in life. And that fell away. Now I'm going to say that it fell away, but I know that it's because internally I decided it was time for it to move. But as it broke up, and in design, I love breakups now because that's what causes you to look at the project from a different perspective, right? So our life is a design project in my world, and it broke up some things that I was thinking about. And one of those was that life has to be a certain way, and it has to be this certain person. And maybe there are things I don't know about what I want and what I like and what might be good for me. So that same kind of breakup was happening also in the business sense. And I really think it was that night where I was like, how far from myself have I come that I'm not helping a woman across the street? And in that moment, it mattered to me that she was Indian because she looked a lot like my grandmother.
Wow.
And I thought to myself, like if my grandmother was traveling or on a street, I would totally love for somebody to help her. And people historically in our lives had. We had always interacted and crossed paths with strangers who were kind, And so, yeah, it was just such a poignant example of how far I come. I think that woman was 100% a placement. From
Divine orchestration.
Totally. It was like she was like the perfect looking person to poke all the right learning,
Wow.
Yeah. So anyways, that I think at some point my soul was like, nah, and then it was like awesome that that's a nah. And so the things that weren't supporting where I was headed, of course, they fell away. Again, it's I'm not saying it wasn't painful, and I'm not saying I didn't bury myself in a glass of wine and French fries. I did. I gave myself some time, and then I said, you know what? I am in a position to take a year off. I'm going to, and it's a little unnerving. For sure, people are going to be like, what? But that was part of reclaiming my narrative, was like, all right, well, they'll think what they think, but this is what feels right. So I took a year off. I spent a long time hiking, like all day long hiking and writing poetry. Didn't know I was a poet. I still don't really identify as a poet. I just think it was my medium at that time of self-discovery. And yeah, and it was the best thing. And then that is where my method emerged from and how I help people. But I'm not sure that everybody has the circumstances to take a year off. But I do think radically changing context where you can, even if it's for a weekend or a day, is very useful in seeing a new side of yourself, or perhaps something that you haven't been looking at, giving it some space to have a conversation with it.
I love that and making that accessible. And what I'm hearing through that perspective shift, I'm seeing imagery of like kind of tight fist, having a tight grip on life and moving to like more open-handed. And hey, I'm going to figure out more of what I want and what I like by letting things come in, letting things flow out.
Yeah.
I love that. And I think the word that's coming to mind through that too is identity, like discovering your true identity. So tell us about how you would describe your identity and maybe what has come out of tapping into that true identity.
Well, so my career is, since I was like a fetus, is branding and design. And you really do get some of these gifts come to you where you're like, this is my thing. I've been doing it for a long time. And in the traditional sense, you have a brand identity. It is who you are. It is what a company is. It is the ethos, the values, the story. It is a constructed model. It is a design model, right? And then, the thing is that we don't understand, like, so much of who we are. I'd love to say to you, hey, Austin, be who you are. But unless you've done the work around, am I who I am and who I think I am based on purely myself? Or am I influenced by maybe a critical parent or a teacher who told me I'm not good at something, right? I'm not, like, I hear this all the time. I heard it. You're not a good writer. She's better at math than she is at English. Until the one teacher was like, nah, I think that's a lie. She's really good. They told my parents she is a good writer. I love writing, but I completely dropped it from hearing those messages.
Wow.
So if you were to say to me when I hadn't looked at my own self and my own reflection, hey, do you like writing? I would have said no. So then if you come and tell me, okay, well, be who you are, be the real you. Well, I think I'm being the real me. And there's no space for whether that part of me likes to write or not, right? So then I started to say, okay, well, then what we do is we like get frustrated. And so then we do default setting. We do the what? Our professions, right? If somebody asks you, hey, who are you? Most of the time people are like, I'm the vice president of blah, It's why we hate networking. It's like, it just feels so superficial, but it's easy, right? But the problem with that is like, okay, let's just take it. Like, I'm a Republican, I'm a Democrat. That spectrum of what that means is so massive. So now, externally, people have decided that your identity is a Republican, and that means something about you. And we know, I'm speaking of that example specifically because it's so divisive and so volatile and so useless because this, like, you don't know who that person is. So how are we defaulting to things? Like I hear it with CEOs a lot too. Employees will say, oh, well, they're a CEO. They don't want to talk to me. I'm like, did you ask them if they want to have a coffee? And usually it's like, oh, well, they're busy. Another assumption. So the what also doesn't do much. So what I want people, like the thing that I discovered and the thing that I want people to know is if you shift identity to how you see yourself, that's where all the possibilities start opening up for you. Because how you see yourself, like if you see yourself as vital and significant, if you see yourself as brilliant and unique, then you're going to stand taller and you're going to speak with conviction. And then that's going to open the door to more opportunities. And then you're going to get more yeses because you're aligned, right? That's what I mean by an aligned identity. And if the opposite's true too. If you see yourself as insignificant or somebody like a doormat or whatever, however you see yourself, those people start showing up. So when I'm designing an identity professionally and personally, although I don't see a distinction between either, I want people to change how they see themselves. And that's what I did that year, right? I changed how I was seeing myself. I didn't change the who or the what. The who or the what changed because of how I was seeing myself. But it was limiting. And it was largely limiting to what other expectations, right? Like external expectations and perceptions, right?
This show is supported by Loyal Home Concierge. You can take a company public, but you just found a scorpion in the guest room. Welcome to Austin. We'll handle it. LoyalHomeConcierge.com.
I'm thinking this is, partially a quote from a movie, and I don't remember which, but I'm picturing that moment for you, like you changed the way you saw yourself, and all of a sudden, food tasted better, the air smelled sweeter. Like, what changed in your life? Like, what did that open up for you, or what was different in how you experienced the world, maybe? Because that's powerful alignment you're talking about.
Yeah, well, so much. But I will say, like, a great example, a concrete example is like, I grew up hearing that, sure, be an artist, but there's no way to make a stable income as an artist. So do it on the side. It was a well-meaning piece of advice, right? It was people protecting me and wanting to see me succeed, their version of success, right? So prior to that, I would never play up my artistic sensibilities. I would always play up my business acumen. I would present with my business acumen, which, hey, guess what? You can be successful doing that. And I was, but I was like miserable. And the people around me, like, it was like, I've always had good people around me, but at that moment, it was kind of laughable. Some of the partnerships and things I was in, it was like so not Ushi, right? And then that year, right, I'm like, okay, like, let me see myself differently. Let me see myself as the artist that I feel I am. And all of a sudden, this poetry, I'm writing poetry, right? And it came, and it was beautiful. It was everything I needed to hear from myself, whether somebody read it or not. And so now Ushi's showing up as both the artist and the business person. And right now, that is exactly why people hire me. It's because I have both, right? I kept trying to show up as one or the other for a bit. But then I thought, no, like, if I see myself as the artist, if I see myself bringing artistry to business, what does that do? And so, yeah, like, the food gets better, the people get better, like, everything gets better, your choices get better. The travel gets better, because when you're in alignment, then you're well, I know neuroscience says that your brain is seeking out that alignment in the external world, right? So now what used to be limiting, like, haven't you ever had that experience where you, like, walk into something and you're like, that thing has been here forever. I've never seen it. How does that happen? Right? And then you have this experience of inner alignment, or you even take a breath and then you take a room in and you're like, that thing has been here forever and I'm now witnessing it. Right? So that's what we're trying to do with identity. It happens to work professionally in how you're expressing as a company, or how you're showing up with distinction and differentiating yourself in the market. But it certainly works on the individual as well.
Yeah, I mean, everything stems from identity. Let me wrestle with something with you, and I'll use I statements here. For me, sometimes I don't see myself accurately, and I need community to tell me who I am, and maybe to tell me a story about who I am, to inform that or correct it. But there are times, even in my close inner circle, where they might share feedback and it might conflict with things I'm feeling strongly. Like, so there's a tension there. How do you navigate that tension? Or how do we balance inner voices, and those are positive and negative, with external, maybe solicited and unsolicited feedback from others?
Yeah. I would say in my younger years, I was very defensive to that kind of thing. And I didn't even know I was doing it. I had received some feedback as well from somebody. I really valued their feedback, where they were like, your default setting is to defend. And there are so many things that I've unraveled to understand why I was trying to defend. But in my process, I do something where you build a book of me and you build a seeing me board. I'm not going to get into the details of it, like we can on another day. But the idea there is that you have a North Star of you. So you've done the work individually to see yourself. Maybe you do some coaching, or there's somebody who helps you to reflect back because that's what they're trained in. But you see yourself almost like a vision board, but it's a mood board of you. And you see yourself in the words of you, like actual language that reflects who you are in one particular moment of your life. And those artifacts or those tools, like it's kind of obvious. You get this breath moment. Some clients describe it as like chills or just like an inner knowing. So you find that alignment, and then you go out and you are in community. And, somewhere where that's pretty active is like a corporate community. And then we can talk about what you mean by community in a second. But like I'm defining it in this moment as like you're around a group of people and you're in there and somebody gives you feedback. Well, the first thing I would do is like, okay, how is it? Like, why? Why is that feeling? Maybe it's hurt. Maybe it's like disbelief. Maybe it's like, shut up. Like, like whatever your reaction is to that feedback, like, all right, what is that about? Right? Because you don't need to collapse to feedback. If you're collapsing in the frame of feedback, it means there's a part of you that believes it, right? It's a part of you that like knows it. Because sometimes people can give you feedback and you're like, yeah, good point. And when it has no touch, you're like, you know what I mean? Like there's nothing, there's no. So I use it as again, self-confrontation. Like, okay, cool. So somebody said this about me. I didn't always do this. I had to learn it. I just want to be clear. Like, I don't want to sound like, oh, she's got it going on. I often want to punch a wall when people talk to me. But the tool I use is to come back to my Seeing Me board and book of me and go, okay, well, this is who I think I am. And it feels resonant. So why did this other piece of information come in? Is it time to evolve? Is it time to rethink? Is it time to be like, nah, that's their issue, right? But imagine you don't have this way to come back to your own North Star. And then you get that feedback. And now you start doing what that person said. This is how we get further and further away from ourselves, right? So I would say you grapple with it by finding your North Star. And then when you find your North Star, however that looks to you, I've got my tools. Different people have different things. Some people have a song. Some people have like a book they wrote. But somewhere where you can go, wow, this is me. Some people prayer and they feel it internally, but you got to come back. You have to have a reference point. Otherwise, you could just go through life like this. And also, not everyone is equipped or developed enough to give feedback. They are coming from trauma and they are coming from their own limited view. So, like, you got to be like, no, that's not for me, right? And then some are so genuine and they want to see you grow. So then it's like, okay, that's how I would do it. Like I said, we're over here, work in progress.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, great work in progress.
Yeah.
Something I heard there, Ushi, that I needed to hear and I really appreciate is like when feedback comes in, regardless of the source, first identify the feeling.
Yeah.
How does that make me feel? And I want the male listeners of this podcast to hone in on that. Like, I think us guys are not great at that, but that's so important, and like place maybe some names to that or set of emotions that are going on and then have the North Star that helps serve as the filter or the litmus test or the guiding force of how to receive that feedback or whatever is said.
Yeah. That's so interesting you say that. Right now, I'm skewed more male in my clients, which is shocking to me because I feel like even in my web text and everything, I was like, does anybody see that it says I empower women? And so halfway through last year, I was like, drop it. Who cares? Just empower leaders and people, like, who cares, right? And I wonder if it's, I find that, someone with a mission is easier. They take in the feedback well because they're so focused on the thing they're trying to accomplish in the world. Let me just say that. And that's also why I advise people to lift it, like even like in a personal friendship, lift it out of friend, not friend, and lift it into I'm facilitating a positive future and this person is part of it or not part of it. And what I mean by part of it, not part of it, it's not like you're excluding them. It is that I see something for the future for myself and for this planet. And they are either nurturing and contributing and part of it in their realm too, right? Like there's like that, I hate the word collaboration. I feel like it's been hijacked. But it's, like everyone is contributing. And it's kind of like that thing, like when you see a really great sports team, for example, I'm kind of obsessed with like football and random sports like that you wouldn't think I was obsessed with. But when you see them, they might not even like each other. But the second it's time to win, wow, do they play well together, right? And I think it's like that. Like your friends are the same way. And if you can start seeing your entire ecosystem as part of the thing that lifts you or propels you towards what you see, the purpose of your existence, the what people often identify as like made for more. I know there's something more. If you're going for that made for more and you're aligned in your identity, I feel like the people who aren't there for that fall away. It's time to let it. And I think I'm saying that to you in relation to what you said about letting it in is like, I think men sometimes get a bad rap for not letting it in. And I'm like, they just let that in real quick, right? When it's not personal. That's the thing. When it's not about how that person, that guy is showing up or performing. I mean, we can go so deep onto this because I think I'm not negating what some really crappy men have done in the world. Not negating it. And I'm sorry people have had to go through that. But most of the time I watch these really great guys come to me and have no idea what to do because people are like, they are kind, compassionate, wonderful men. And then they go to the office and they're like, can I say hi to her? Or can I like, can I be empathetic while she's talking about something that's sad? Like, what's the line?
Like, what do I do here?
Oh, yeah. And they're like robots. And I was like, well, what do you want to do? Well, I just want to ask her how she is. I was like, I feel like that should be okay, you know? And I get all the circumstances that make that not the case. But this is what I'm saying. Like, we all need North Stars. We all need to come back and say, well, who am I? And what is my intention within this? And then, yeah, you let it in. There's nothing to not let in, right? Yeah.
You've talked us through just some powerful vignettes and references to your work and some frameworks. Let me take a crack at distilling for people kind of an elevator pitch version of your business, and you can correct me.
Sure. Yeah, this is good. This is good, like, focus grouping.
We're workshopping this.
Yeah.
You help people get in touch with, learn from, gain awareness to their story for the purpose of a personal unlock so that they can show up differently in the world.
Yeah. Beautiful. I think you like really the business use case is leadership presence so that you show up with distinction and then you can go do that thing that you're trying to do, right? And I think people don't know what their distinct value is. I think we're not taught to know it, and I think we're taught that it's arrogant to know it and to express it. So then what you have is all these people who don't have it, who don't have the efficacy, who don't have the brilliance, who don't have the dedicated heart, that they know how to present and package themselves, so they get the gigs. But they don't have the stuff, right? So I teach the people who got the stuff how to present and package themselves. Part of that is for sure what you're saying. You got to own your story. You got to figure out why you don't want to show up wholly as you are. But you're a businessman, so you know that you showing up distinctly, the implications of what that means for your sales and for your team, right? And for your presence in the media. So that's the business use case of it. And I get all excited about the business use case, but so many people are like, nah, Ushi, you just help people discover who they really are. I was like, fine, like call it whatever you want. But yeah, that's what's going down over here.
Okay, the stonemason sent a PDF. The plumber wants a check. Wait, who is Dave on Venmo? Is that the woodworker or the tool rental? Oh my gosh. Stop playing forensic accountant with your own renovation. With Loyal, you get one consolidated invoice. We manage the vendors and the paperwork. One bill, zero confusion. Loyal Home Concierge.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's take a hypothetical client. Person comes to you and they're clearly hungry. Like there's a positive energy there, a desire for something different. They think they know what they want, but maybe it's not really what they want. And they're also stuck on discovering their story. They've got like a writer's block. There's a blockage there. Like,
Yep.
What do you do with that person? What's the unlock for that person?
Well, first they take a personal inventory. That's that book of me that I was talking about.
And say more on what that.
Yeah. So they go through and I basically write down all your track record, your accomplishments, write down every challenge or hurdle, every bridge you've crossed, talk to people and interview them about yourself, which is like the most uncomfortable. People throw up. They're like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to talk about myself. But I think we don't do that, right? Like even, again, if you were to start complimenting right now, I'm going to visibly get uncomfortable. And I'm going to be like, okay.
Well, I kind of want to try this out right now.
Yeah. So like, but it's a good thing to do
I
because
love this jacket you're wearing.
yeah, it's a good jacket, so I could take that in. But we were on set one time, and one of the clients just like started like, Ushi, it's like this, and I was like, I literally need to leave. I cannot breathe. It was like, yes, it was like so awkward, and she was so heartfelt, and it was so genuine, and we need to hear it because, like, look, the other side of it is like, let's do a performance review. It does nothing. It's an evaluation. No one's going to be their whole self. No one's going to, I'm telling you, everybody I work with is like, how do I write this performance review so either so-and-so gets a promotion or I look good? It's not authentic, right? So you're going through, if you're doing it with me one-on-one, I'm interviewing you and we're doing it together. Or you're doing it on your own. It's in my book and I prompt you through it. And you're inventorying what makes you beautiful. You're reveling in your existence. And some of that is very resume-y, like what you've accomplished, your achievements. But the majority of it is the imprint that you've made and the influence that you've already had. You need to hear it. Mm-hmm. And often it has nothing to do with what you're good at. Right? And most people aren't in touch with that because there's no room for that in our world. People want to be defined and live by their freaking resume.
Totally.
Right? The resume does nothing for you. Don't hire a resume coach. Don't, because people don't buy what. They buy so what. They hire the so what, the why you, why now, right? So that's first step. Why you, why now, Austin? And I'm going to find that because I'm going to interview you until you're like, get out of my face. And then we're going to find the through line, the golden thread of who you are. And it's there. Everyone has one. And everyone has something unique about them. Everyone. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
So in your words, you straddle these identities as an artist and a businesswoman. How do you refill your cup creatively?
Do I fill my cup Yes, I do. I was cracking up because I'm like, sometimes I was like talking to John today, who's my husband. And I was like, I think it's funny how you think I have time off. And he's like, I know you don't have time off because I used to orient to my life of like when I'm with the kids, it's my time off of work. There's no off when you're with your kids, right? So a lot of last year, no space. And I think my body was like, nah, girl, you need to make the space for your creativity. So walking, time in nature, doing a creative project that has no agenda or, because I could commercialize a thing like that, right? Like I have an idea, let's commercialize it versus playing with it first, enjoying the creativity of it. So like, that's what I mean. Like, yesterday I was like, yeah, that's what we have to do this year. So it's very new and fresh, but those are my things.
Are there some seeds of what that no agenda creative project might be this year?
Why is my uterus trying to kill me? A book where I wanted to share my experiences about like non-doctor girl going through all of this and the medical system and all that. And then have the wonderful two doctors who I feel saved my life last year, write the science so that if somebody read it, because I feel like books are all about science or they're all about personal experience. But if these ones could tell this girl who was like very confused and lost what was really happening, and then, I'm resisting the urge to commercialize that book because part of me knows it can help so many women. But right now I need to sit with the digestion and the creativity of honoring my experience first, right? All of me wants to be like, cool, we're going to do interviews. We're going to go get the writers and the editors. Like I could put the book together tomorrow. But I was like, don't do that. Let yourself write about your experience. Let yourself write freely about your experience and enjoy the writing of how I reclaimed myself and how the people came around me to help me reclaim myself. And what I'm even talking about, reclaiming myself, and what does that have to do with my body? So that one of them. There's like 100 of them, so I just gave you the one.
Well, Ushi, you just casually dropped a very significant
Yes.
part of your life. And do you want to add color, if you feel comfortable, of what this means for you or what the context is of what you're describing for folks?
Yeah, and I'm going to do that because you brought up the topic of creativity. So I think that there was a time where I thought that if people's lives looked easy, that equaled success. And I think it's portrayed a lot in the media, where you see people and you're like, oh, their life is perfect. And you have no idea what's actually going on behind the scenes and what's happening for them. So I did this thing with myself that if a creative project seemed hard, I thought I was failing or doing something wrong. Like, if I was aligned, shouldn't there be flow? And somewhat that's true, but I was producing. I was not in creative mode. Okay, there's a very big difference, at least for me. That's what I discovered. I was great at producing, and my body was depleting because I was producing. And so then what happened was my body was like, we don't do that. We cannot sustain what you're doing there. And it was showing up in the form of just like I'm talking to you about this, so hey, welcome to the Uterus Club. But yeah, it showed up in a lot of strain on a part of a woman's body that isn't well studied. There's a lot of conjecture. And simultaneous to that, I have the world's most foremost expert is my client on the subject.
Wow.
It took me 8 months of pain and suffering in my body to ask her for help. Okay? So what are we learning, Ushi, about that? Right? So, by the way, I didn't ask her for help. I was in the ER. And she asked me, I remember she was like, hey, blah, blah, blah about the business thing. How's it going? And I very I'm in the ER. And she called right away. She called the, whatever you call it, is in charge of the ER floor that day. She said this, and this to that person, who was a gentleman who received her very well. Thank God. Because that doesn't have to go that way. And she saved my life. She saved me from bleeding out. Yeah. And I'm telling you this in the context of Creative Project because I headed to the ER the second I submitted my manuscript for my book.
Wow.
So I'm sitting, it was so funny. My friend came with me because what do you do with the kids? And we're sitting in this overpacked ER and like the harsh white lights, not like these beautiful lights, like the harsh white lights. And I was like, I did something wrong. Like, definitely this is me doing something wrong. Because like, all those creatives like Hemingway and all these people are like blissfully creating their projects. It's like easy for them. And I put this block in the way, blah, 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 right? So yeah. So then it became, how do we unravel this? What's going on in her body? Ultimately, it became surgery. I just had the surgery. It was the best thing I ever did. A whole bunch of stigma around the surgery too. I thought, again, I oriented first to it as a failure. Like, I didn't take care of my body. I didn't do the right things. And then I was like, wait, maybe this is the right thing, right? Maybe this book is going to do so many great things for the world, but your body wants to be with you in that, right? Whoa, did I learn how people can be there for me and want to be there for me. And like my husband was like, don't let him hear this because then he might stop. But he was like, he was like incredible. I mean, he took, like, it was more than just the kids. It was that, so much love. I felt so much love from him and my community and people also who I didn't even consider community, or maybe I even thought was like, okay, I don't want to bother them, or all those things that come up. So I learned how to receive help. And I learned that actually the best creative projects have ups and downs and twists and turns, and it makes them even better and truer, not better, truer. And my book got stuck at the printers overseas for like the same 6 months that I was healing. And I literally came out of surgery, and the text I received was from my vendor who was like, books are going to be to you in a week.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's like that. So I think as a very long way of telling you, like, I'm kind of happy I had surgery. It was the best thing that could have ever happened to me. And that's the part where I need to write about that. There's something very significant that I journeyed on last year that will help lots of people. But right now I need to collect it for myself. I need to honor what it is, not as something wrong, but as something so beautiful, so me, so much a part of my journey and where I'm headed, right? And God, it's hard to resist the urge to get things to market. It really is, because it's so fun to see it. But I'm gonna just, like you said, how you doing this year? I was like, awesome. Because of that. Yeah.
Well, thank you for honoring us with sharing something so personal and just all the realness around the experience and then your reflections around it. It's so powerful. And I really appreciate what you said about the creative process of challenge or hardship does not equate or doesn't mean it's the wrong thing or it's bad. I think some things I see a lot, or dynamics I see a lot in, I'll say, in Western spiritual communities or in circles that I roll in where people are following God, I hear people say, oh, the door was closed, and so I think God probably closed the door and I'm going to go in another direction when adversity comes up. And I'm like,
Totally.
man, maybe you just need to like bust your butt and work really hard,
Yeah.
and like
Yes.
have some failures. And so I really appreciate that message.
Yeah. Oh, I love that you're bringing this up. I would say that one of the questions I had to God was like, I don't get when I'm supposed to be responsible and when I'm supposed to surrender and have faith, right? I definitely don't buy into a God that's a guy sitting on a cloud throwing lightning bolts at me and based on a judgment, okay? I used to have that frame because of whatever I thought, like whatever I learned as a child. But I was like, I cannot believe there is a God that is benevolent and loving and compassionate that's going to leave one of the humans out of the mix. Right? If God, this is, I feel cross-religious of like, if God created us, right, then why is God doesn't create trash? So I'm not going to buy into the story that God creates trash. I'm going to buy into the story that God creates artwork. And I'm artwork. So now in that frame, see, this is like seeing yourself differently. I had to learn it, but now I'm seeing myself differently. And I'm like, all right, cool, God. Like, so you're not going to smite me or smote me or whatever. You're not going to judge me. Still wondering, what am I responsible for? When should I go hard on something? And then when should I have faith and surrender? And also, what's devotion? Like all these things. Like I was, in that inquiry last year. And I was telling you that when you go to surgery, it's like it's a very interesting moment where you're in the hustle and bustle of the waiting room and coffee smells and people and wondering what is that person going through and smiles and terror, like all this stuff, the world. And they say, okay, Miss Patel, come on in. And there's like a transition into your pre-op room where like every step you're like, oh, I'm walking towards maybe I won't come back. Or there's no identity because right now I have this thing. There's a chart. You're taking off all your clothes, your jewelry, and it's like you in a gown and a bed for like a hot second, right? Until the staff comes. And I was like, I don't know. Do I pray right now to you, God? Do I freak out? Like, you're definitely in the room because I'm talking to you. So I believe in you. And that's when I was like, okay, so now I'm a work of art and God loves me. So why don't I have a relationship with God where I say, this is what I'd like to have happen? And then I'm going to do whatever it takes to have it happen, but I'm going to need a little bit of your, drive my chariot, so to speak, right? It's a metaphor that in the Indian tradition they would get, right? God sits in the chariot. God drives the chariot in the iconography. So I was like, I like that. I love that. Okay, cool. God, I want this. God's going to drive me in the direction, but I have to be clear about what I want, right? So in that moment, I was like, well, this is what we want. We want a zero impact surgery. I want to bless every single person in this hospital that's connected to this, plus the ones that I don't know, because let's make them have good surgeries too. And I don't know if that's scientifically possible, but I don't care, and that's what I'm praying for. And that's what I got.
Wow.
I was shocked that the next day I was like, hey, I don't think I need a pain pill to my husband. And even he was like, no, just take one so we're ahead of the pain. I'm like, I don't think I need it. So to humor him, I took it for another day, but I was like, I literally don't need it. When I later saw my doctor, she's like, I don't understand how your surgery was so easy, but it's the easiest one I've ever done in my career.
Wow.
Yeah. And then the other ones were like, she's the jolliest girl, because apparently when I come out of anesthesia, I tell jokes. So maybe there was like...
Okay, do we have any anesthesia in the house?
Totally. Like they were like, you were so funny. Everyone else is like complaining, this hurts, that hurts. And you were like trying to tell nurse jokes. And I was like, I don't think I even know a nurse joke, okay? So like maybe I have a future.
Flash of inspiration.
Totally. I was like, but do I know a nurse joke? So that's how I see it. But I didn't see it like that. And I had the same inquiry that you did. I was like, God, what are we doing here? I know you're here, but I don't know how to relate to you right now. Right? And I agree with you. There's so much garbage in spiritual communities that's like, relate to God like he's the smiter, whatever that word is. Or, relate to God like he's the rescuer. I'm like, maybe, or maybe we should just, do the task. Right? like there's that story about the helicopter where like, it's not my story. I'm going to butcher it. Please forgive me, whoever's story this is, but there's a flood and he's on the house, this guy, and he's like, please save me, God, please save me. And he gets to heaven and he's like, God, why don't you save me? And God's like, I sent the helicopter, right? Like, give him the freaking helicopter, people. That's what I think.
You're in Aspen, or maybe Italy, and your phone pings with a freeze warning back in Austin. Panic? Nope. You have Loyal. We're already there, wrapping the pipes and checking the perimeter. Whether you're home or away, we are the eyes and ears of your estate. Global freedom, local support.
Well, in that story, I think first there's a canoe, and then there's
okay.
a motorboat,
Sure,
and then there's like God's like, hey, here, and many options for you, and you can choose. But I love that you identify as a work of art from God.
Yeah.
And I, in my belief system, God is love, and if God is love, like that's God's nature. Like that's the language of expression. So I love that. Other parts of your identity, you've referenced this, you're a mom.
Yes.
You're a wife.
Yes.
Tell us, what's your home environment like? And are there fun rhythms that you all have as a family? What's life like in your household?
I mean, I would love to tell you I have a rhythm. I think my kids control everything. I still think I'm a good parent. And maybe part of that was a commitment from John and I that I wasn't going to story my kids out of their own selves, right? So what I mean by that is they come home from school, the door rips open, they both take their clothes off, they throw their clothes everywhere. And I was like, well, hello, and they let off steam and we eat dinner imperfectly and definitely something Nico threw in my face or it's crazy and it's wild and it's full of joy and it's full of love. And It's everything I never knew I wanted. It's not neat little rows and perfect little cookies like you see on Instagram. It's you make those cookies and you work all day for it, and your kids are like, these are disgusting. Like, that's what it is. Oh, you'll love this. I just got my books. My books were on the counter, and there's the Amazon printed version, which I'm like, ugh, I die as an artist. They're just not. They're like printed for bulk, right? So paper is meh, blah, blah, blah. So I had seen that and I was like, we're not doing that. I need to print artistically. So the Amazon prints here, the artistic ones are laid out, and I have this like pipe dream that my kids are going to come in and like praise their mother and we're so proud of you. That whole scene happens. They look at it and they're like, I like that one. And they point at the Amazon one. And then they proceed to go to their closet to get the hundreds of stuffies that they've never played with before, grab them, put them on the couch and say, hey, Mom, it's the Stuffy's birthdays today. So could you get some cake and can we celebrate our Stuffy's birthdays? And I was like, well, great. This is how important I am, and this is how proud we are of my book.
Wow.
And hey, by the way, that book sale is probably going to pay for your school. So like, could we, a little excitement? I even tried it. I was like, hey, but like, do you guys like the book? Nah. About this birthday party of the Stuffies.
Task at hand, Mom.
They don't even know those Stuffies were there a week ago. They're like mad at Santa because Santa didn't bring them enough Stuffies or toys. And I'm like, so now we're celebrating these freaking Stuffies? Like, anyways, that's family life. So yay for all you people who want to have kids out there.
Dynamic.
Totally.
Lively, you know.
Totally. And it's joyful and full of love. And the kids are wonderful. And John is an amazing dad and husband. And we try to sneak in moments together and all. But it's a mess. It's a beautiful mess.
Well, I've met these children and they're awesome.
Yeah.
And something that really came across clear to me is they're free spirited. Like they're freed up to be themselves and show up in the world in a vibrant way that's true to them. And I think that's wonderful and a testament to y'all's parenting.
Yeah.
And I'd be curious, like, what do you want more parents to know or to do? Like, how would you encourage parents of the world?
That's interesting. I have I don't give parent advice policy because it's hard. Well, it's like everyone has their own story and everyone has their own, like, I can't. You know what's right for your kids. You know what's going on. You know what's right for your kids if you have inner alignment and you have that North Star. I will say that. And I think a lot of parents operate not from that because of how they were brought up, right? But like, I remember when Ryan popped out, I was like, okay, this is clear what my priorities are. He like, they held him up like that little Simba scene. They were like, here's your baby. And I remember going, oh, I have a different priority now. And so I will tell you what John and I committed to was to resource their passions, whatever they have, whatever that might be, but they have to demonstrate passion. And for us, that looked like, okay, not like, oh, I want to play football, but it's like, oh, he's out there playing football right now, right? Or whatever that thing was. So that's what we're going to do. I am fumbling through all the other stuff. They ask me questions that I'm like, I don't know the answer. Let's find out together. I love that you're saying that they're true and free-spirited. I'm going to tell you it's inconvenient. Because I'm like, we're not trying to be, like, they go to chapel every day at school. And I'm like, can you not be so free-spirited here? Which is so ironic, right? Like, is that what really pleases God? Like, or whatever our setup is? Like, let's suppress all the children of the world and the laughter and the ones that have joy. That's such a backwards thing. But then I try to do it because I'm like, yeah, but they're watching, So I'm fumbling through it. And I want parents to just know, that's the thing to know is like, you're doing fine. And some of you got to check yourself for sure. Like, stop working and put your stupid phone down. But like, I feel like I have moments too where the phone becomes more important, whatever that text is and stuff. And so, the judgment dissolves in those moments. And I come back to like, okay, we just gotta give each other grace.
That's huge.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Is there a question I'm not asking that you would love to answer? Something you want to share?
Well, I do want to share the meeting of our kids because I think it's so funny that this is how I judged you the first time I met you, which is I do have this judgment. Now, don't try to play. If you meet me for the first time, don't act. You just like have to be like this. Our thing is that we know the heart of a person by how they interact with a wild kid. So it happens a lot in swimming pools where like if some adults like, don't get me wet. I was like, well, don't come to a swimming pool.
Yeah.
But you either have people who, the kid's body is like right up in your face and people are disgusted by it, or they're like, oh, cool, I'll throw them and I'll play with them. Well, the first time we met you, we were like, you were helping with equipment, which shows you your character and who you are. So you were helping with equipment on one of our shoots. And I remember meeting you, and I remember my kids were like, could we have a ride on the luggage cart?
Yeah.
And you were like, totally. Like there was like, you weren't like, oh my God, like completely. But then you gave an epic ride. I was like, this guy, like you were talking and storytelling and laughing and speeding it up. I mean, like it was like a professional cart ride that was happening. And I remember we said goodbye to you, and John and I both looked at each other right away. We're like, that guy's a keeper. Yeah, because of how you give cart rides. So you should put that on your resume.
Okay. And let the record reflect this was not a plant. I did not orchestrate.
No. See, you look at how uncomfortable you are, how amazing you are. So I'm saying how amazing he is. It's really hard. I get it. And it wasn't a plant. But I've been wanting to tell you that. And because it matters. And I also tell you, like, Nico's like I love you or hate you. And if I love you, you're mine for life. But if you got any stank kind of attitude, my boy is going to be like, we don't like that person, and voice it in all the most awkward ways all the time, by the way. I was like, okay.
Well, hey, I admire his discernment. I like to joke, but I mean, I'm totally serious in it that like, if you want to do a character assessment, take a group of adults, like a cocktail party at someone's house, release a child, ideally like between 3 and 5 years old, and see who they gravitate toward in the room.
Totally.
And the adults don't even have to speak. Like it's this unspoken discernment that children have.
Yeah.
That they can detect character, in this beautiful way.
It's so true. I think that about old people too. And so I met John, and our relationship was very fast and furious, like very fast. And it was like nothing, and then it's like time. And my grandmother had fallen, and so she was in the hospital in LA, and we were in San Francisco. So I said, hey, like I had literally had maybe 2 dates with a guy. And the first date, by the way, he met my parents. So fast and furious. So
Going for it, sending it.
Yeah, well, and I had a story in my head that like maybe like guys don't care, they don't want, like, just like all the things I thought of guys, right? And I walk into the hospital. First, okay, let me back up. You got to understand something about old Indian ladies, okay? They don't want their granddaughters marrying the white guy. Let's be clear. The white guy is like acceptable because of the whole British thing, but they're like, no. Where's the nice Indian boy? And they tell you every day, every time they hang up the phone, every moment they can, like, where is my Indian great-grandchildren and where is my Indian son-in-law? And then when we have that son-in-law, we're going to revere him more than you. This is the setup. So like, ooh, yay, let me do that. No. So I was like, so John said, hey, I want to come down and, help. And I was like, nah. Because one, there's like 100 Indians here from my grandmother. And so don't want anybody to see that. And two, like we just met. Well, he drove down to LA. And
Just on his own initiative.
On his own. Then I don't know what he did. He like looked it up or asked his Indian friend or whatever, but he got takeout for me and my family and said, I know food is hard. And he said, I made sure it was spicy food because, he must have done research. And he's like, I'm outside the hospital. I was like, what? I was like, no. Because I'd have to like tell all these people I'm dating a white guy. So then, anyway, so he comes up and I know like I'm kind of accentuating these community points because it's kind of like how you roll. But so then we're in the hospital. I'm like, I'm definitely gonna get in trouble. My dad's gonna like kill me. Like this is like the worst time. And so I was like, okay, like you just give in to this scenario. And I don't know how he got into my grandmother's hospital room, but my grandmother was in there awake. It was like the second time she was awake. And her sisters, who was like, the coven of Indian ladies, old Indian ladies from India, are all sitting there. And they're all cracking jokes with John. Like,
Wow.
on the floor laughing. And when I walked in,
Homie's in.
yeah, when I walked in, my dad goes, "Do you even know who this is?" And my grandmother, in her like drugged up stupor, goes, "My son-in-law," in Hindi.
Wow.
I know. So old people and children, there's no BS anymore. It's like the mask is gone.
Best.
It's the best. And that's the truth. He's a good man. And they saw right past all the other cultural BS, right? And also he was making, they don't laugh. Like I was like, I don't think I've ever seen her laugh at a joke like that.
Wow.
Yeah. She passed away about 3 weeks later. So I got the blessing. I got the blessing
From the matriarch.
from the matriarch.
Wow.
The last place I thought I'd get the blessing from.
Oh my God.
I thought she was going to like disown me if I married him. I know. Then everyone was like, "So where's the ring?" He's like, "Whoa, that's too much. Like, you got to give us a minute." I was like, "You give yourself a minute. You're the one who drove down here." I was like, obviously they're going to wonder. But they love him. And I think, yeah. So if anybody's trying to test anybody out there, put an old person and Nico in the room.
There you go.
Yeah. New security check.
I love it. I love it. True test of character.
Totally.
Well, as we start to wind our conversation down today, what's something that you're loving in Austin right now, in the city of Austin? Could, broad blanket statement.
Peeps. The people.
Okay.
Yeah. I feel like everywhere I look, there's someone doing something cool with a real big heart, and everywhere. And I'm going to tell you this. In California, a lot of Texans are judged by what we see on the news, and opinions are formed about what's seen on the news. And I crack up because the day I got here, there was a pie and cookies sitting on our doorstep welcoming us to Austin and the neighborhood with our names.
Wow.
That's Austin. It's probably all of Texas, but I haven't been there, so can't tell you that. But in Austin, that has been our experience over and over again. Oh, there's an ice storm. What do you need? Right? Oh, you're launching something. Let me invite my friends. Right? Oh, you're going through surgery. Can I get you a meal? And it's friends and it's strangers. Right? We got so many phone numbers on playgrounds in Austin from like people are like, "Hey, we should just like get the kids together and hang." And it's like kind of a blind date situation with another set of parents. Always worked out fun. Like it's like always great. Every manner of person, every manner of walk of life, every political affiliations. Like it's like it kind of isn't there. It's like people are just people, and I love that about this place. And the land is awesome, and the way the restaurants are set up. Oh, it just feels very like what you're trying to do. It just feels like they got community here. Yeah.
I cannot agree more. And I think, if there is an Austin Board of Tourism, they're going to be sending checks into your mailbox for that powerful endorsement you just gave. But totally true. Like the spirit of community and hospitality and warmth that runs deep here.
Yeah.
Ushi, something that you really showed me today about community is that community works really well when the members of the community know and own their story.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the body. Like if my arm knows it's an arm, it's going to function like an arm, and like my neck knows it's neck, it's going to function like a neck. Like a community is a lot like that. If we really know ourselves, embrace our story, that informs our identity. Just we show up holistically and authentically, the community benefits.
Absolutely. And the community is always formed for a reason, right? If you look at all the ones that you're a part of, why? The why is actually clear in community, right? And then if you want to be a part of the community or you want members to be a part of your community, just that's the thing to focus on, right? Whether it's I was lonely when I first got to a city, or we're raising kids together, or we're part of a spiritual community, like there's definitely a why. And I also with the spiritual communities, because I don't want to poo-poo on spiritual communities, they're very powerful. And I'm a part of one as well that I love. but I think that they lose their why sometimes. Like anybody, like I did, right? So I love what you're saying. It's like just and why it's not just the why, it's like why now? I think that's really important too. Right? In this moment, why are we gathering?
That's good. That's a great thing to leave folks at, is getting in touch with their why, letting that inform their decisions. Ushi, this has been such a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's so fun. I don't even feel like I'm on a podcast. I feel like we're just rolling.
Just hanging out.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. And thanks for what you're doing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I can't wait to compliment you more so you get nervous.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Austin Community Capital. This show is a celebration of the spirit of Austin, Texas, honoring our past, engaging our present, and building our future together. If this conversation sparked something in you, a new idea, a feeling of connection, or just a good laugh, pass it on. Share this episode with a fellow Austinite or a loved one who needs to hear it. Let's keep weaving this fabric of community together. This show is proudly presented by Loyal Home Concierge. At Loyal, we believe that a healthy, thriving city starts within the four walls of your home. We are passionate about supporting overextended executives, the moms and dads who do it all, and the couples who take life by storm. Because we know that when your home life is supported, you are free to support the ones who matter most.
Your kids, your wife.
Whether you need a proactive manager for your home or a creative problem solver for your next big adventure, we are here to help you design a life of intention. LoyalHomeConcierge.com. Let's make life a little more beautiful together. Stay loyal to your community, and we'll see you next time.